how what he did with his mother when I was a kid is now being done by a guy half his age in Minnesota. I love it. I love it.
I just had to, I'm glad I got through. I was kind of surprised. I just had to let you know, of all the things this is really one of the things that is harder to do.
It is. And remember, I said I was talking about how people were affected in childhood. Ongoing problems with parents is really another issue. And to say that you have my sympathy is to understate the case. How does one balance, and I'm serious, this is not easy, to say the least. How does one balance the moral imperative to honor one's parents when the parent is particularly difficult? I mean, what is it? Let's see. Peter was 42. His mother's 83. That's exactly 1 year less than half, double his age. He calls her up to wish her a happy birthday, and she yells at him. What is it? What is that song? You always hurt the one you love? That's another fascinating question. Maybe we should deal with that with Steve Ballmer. People mistreat family more than they mistreat anybody else. Isn't that fair to say? In the course of people's lives? Not everybody, obviously. But hundreds in the world, probably billions, but in our country, I am sure that the greatest mistreatment of people in certain people's lives is that of family. Of a child, of a parent, of a sibling, of a spouse. Somebody once told me that his wife once said to him, when he said, why do you keep treating me that way? And she said, because you're my husband. Who else am I going to treat that way? So, to which I think he responded, so why would one want to be your husband? And he never told me what she said. 1-8 Prager 776, and we go to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and Joseph. Hello, Joseph. Dennis Prager.
Hello, Dennis. Thanks for taking the call. Always enjoy the show.
Good.
I attended the First World Congress of Positive Psychology at the University of Pennsylvania recently. Martin Seligman spoke.
Yes, on happiness. Right? Yeah, he's a happiness guru.
Exactly. And to support your point, he got up in front of 1,000 people and said that psychoanalytic theory is a fraud. And
I don't believe that, by the way. I don't believe psychoanalytic theory is a fraud. I think Freud was a genius.
Would you not agree that that's the basis for blaming your parents?
No, it's the basis of figuring out why you do what you do and then stop blaming them. I'm not against people blaming parents. I'm against people continuing to do so.
Right.
If I have a flat tire, I need to figure out why it got flat. Once I do, I fix the tire and then move on. But I have to figure out why the tire got flat or it'll happen again. Why is my car not working? Why is my psyche? Why are my emotions not working? Okay, so my mom did this or my dad did that. Okay, now I understand. They're human. They made big boo-boos. Okay, now my life is in my hands. So I believe that we have to go beyond it, but I don't believe that we shouldn't find out what happened. If a woman keeps falling in love with bad men and goes for psychoanalysis and finds out that the reason is because dad acted X or Y, she doesn't leave the room hating dad. She leaves the room figuring out what type of man she now needs to be attracted to because her psyche was making big problems for her.
But Dennis, to use the tire metaphor, you don't spend time analyzing how the glass got on the roadway that you ran over, and you don't feel guilty about running over the glass. You just move ahead and fix it, and that's the end of it.
Well, what if you keep running over glass? That's the problem. If you don't have recurring issues, then you're right, it's irrelevant. But what if you are, in fact, constantly bumping into glass, or for metaphor one wishes to use? Then you do want to know. I, Dennis, am particularly curious. As I've said, if I were on the Titanic, I would first be curious to know why it was sinking. That would drive me the craziest. Then I want a lifeboat. The issue of it is normal to have been adversely affected by a parent. It's normal. That's the way life is. Very few people have both a mother and father who are perfect parents, or even close to perfect. Maybe close to perfect some people have had. And I mean it. I don't want to say that doesn't exist. I think it does exist. The norm, however, is not the near perfect parent. The norm is a parent who is a normally flawed human being who tried hard to be a good parent, and in some cases didn't try. Some parents were just vicious and despicable. I can't address that part of the bell curve. The parent who locked you, or even metaphorically, locked you in a freezer, well, freezer you would have died, in a refrigerator, or scalded you. I don't mean the one who engaged in corporal punishment. I have changed 180 degrees in my view about spanking. 180 degrees. I was unalterably opposed, and now I am for it. I know this literally more than any other subject alienates many folks who are of liberal persuasion from me. They have been taught that the use of any force on a child is inherently abusive, destructive, mean-spirited, primitive, and yet, I tell you, we have so far gone in the other direction. When my older son was a 2-year-old baby, he now has his own baby, so it's been a while. When he was a 2-year-old baby, well, it's 25 years ago, a 5-year-old in a park came over and threw him down, just a vicious kid. The mother ran over to the boy and said, "What's troubling you, honey?" Between that response and smacking the kid's hand, a really good smack on the hand, what do you think would have produced a finer human being? Okay, now you'll say, well, there's a third option. Fine. But I'm not giving you a third option right now. I don't think there is right now. Yell at him? Okay, fine. Obviously he should be yelled at. But what if at that moment she'd have really smacked his hand? Don't you dare do that, lay a hand on a baby, you bully, which is the way it should have been. So anyway, I'm not talking about just simple spanking or something like that. I am talking about really abused children. I'm not addressing you. I'm addressing the vast majority of humans raised by flawed human beings called parents. That is part of the human condition. Some people are luckier. Some people are less lucky in the parent they have. I fully acknowledge that. But once you reach adulthood, you are wasting precious years in being focused on what the parent did or didn't do to you. It is good to know what it was for the sake of your own self-knowledge. But if you have to liberate yourself. At what age will you stop saying, look at what my mom did to me? Now, the issue arises about forgiveness of parents. That's a separate issue entirely. I'm not talking about forgiveness. It's a very complex question. I'm talking about just liberating yourself from that and taking responsibility for your own life. It's a very, very sensitive subject on the Happiness Hour today. Most of the calls are about really bad parents. Let me make the difficult as simple as possible. Number of propositions here. Number one, most people have been given both good and bad things by parents. Therefore, I fully acknowledge the normalcy of parents passing on problems to their child. It is difficult to imagine it not happening. There are parents that are so wonderful, and I mean it, that the amount of bad is minuscule. But it's very rare. The norm is a normal human being raising a child is going to pass on normal and troubled things. We as adults, we have to decide at some point how long are we going to allow ourselves to be guided by that factor. How long will we blame mom or dad for the issues we have? I know a person who was raised by a father who was truly pathologic. He would actually call his kids stupid regularly, resent the fact that he was even buying them room and board. He resented buying them shoes. Look at all you're costing me. You are not worth it. The children are now all adults and have had a choice about what to do about that. Spend the rest of their lives lamenting it, blaming all of their problems. And by the way, there were very real problems that this caused. I don't deny that parents can cause real problems. What I'm saying is you cannot be prisoner of those problems forever, or you have lost a life. Not only a childhood or part of a childhood, if it was that bad, but a life to that fact. Now you have, but I at the same time want us to know, we should know, that's why I didn't agree with the gentleman about the psychoanalysis being a fraud, that if you can in fact learn what was done, then you put it into perspective and you march on.